morning.
Good morning. So this is RJ Singleton, and he was one of my students here at Danforth Long Middle School way back a million years ago, and he is now at
Baylor.
Baylor University. This is your sophomore year?
I'm going into sophomore year, yes.
Sophomore year, but you're almost done.
Yeah, I mean, pretty close, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So, what is your definition of ethnicity?
Definition of ethnicity is... My definition of an ethnicity is the culture in which you were raised that you see as your background. Like, my ethnicity is rooted in the fact that I have a very, very black family that loves, they love just like old jazz. They love old, just like they love, I don't know how to make sense of this. Ethnicity is, for me, where you find your roots. Yeah.
Turns out I neglected to record myself and RJ talking about what ethnicity was. It was such a good conversation, I just forgot to hit record when we were talking about it. My definition of ethnicity is pretty close to what he was saying, that it is where you identify yourself as coming from. Your history, your personal identification, the group that you associate yourself with nationally and locally. So that's pretty much where we were going with our definition. And so his was pretty close to mine. What would you say is the most commonly held misconception about people of your ethnicity?
I believe the most commonly held misconception about people of my ethnicity is laziness, unwillingness to seek out education, seek out higher education, seek out wealth, seek out making it out. I feel like a lot of people believe that people that are in the hood refuse to make it out, refuse to try to not be in that bad of a situation. But it's not for lack of trying, it's a lack of wanting, if that makes sense. I feel like there are people, my mom for example, who grow up in that environment and then decide that it's not for them. You know, there are people that decide, oh, I would like to go to college, I would like to do this thing, I would like to do this thing, but a very big, it is a huge culture thing, just like in New York with like barrios, you know, where a lot of Hispanic people live together because they're comfortable. Like the hood, if that's what you want to call it, is just a comfortable place that people of my ethnicity can live together and not be, no one there is judging them, no one there is ostracizing them. They are all on the same level, and they as a community are kind of one big family. So I'd have to say laziness, because I don't believe I don't believe people of my ethnicity are predisposed. I don't believe people of my ethnicity are predisposed to be any lazier than the next person.
So have you ever felt excluded based on your ethnicity, and why?
Yes and no. I don't believe that I think I'm really lucky that I've never been excluded based specifically on my ethnicity. I believe that I have been excluded based on the opportunities allotted to me because of my ethnicity. My mom growing up, my mom attempting to be a businesswoman, my mom raising me alone, she I remember I went to, it was 5th or 6th grade. She was looking at how much people that were not her ethnicity were making that were more. That was much more than she was making as a salesman, doing the exact same thing she was doing, making more than her, presumably on the basis of her being a woman and her being black. And I missed out on opportunities because I feel as though it seems as though that she is a less important, less meaningful, less valuable worker because of not only her ethnicity but because of her being a woman. So I have not necessarily been discriminated against or been left out because of my ethnicity, and I've been extremely blessed in that and lucky for that. But I have seen it affect people in my family.
How important is it that people understand people of other ethnicities?
I believe it's quite extremely important and of paramount importance if we're ever to reach. I don't think peace is the right word, but like social peace, if that makes sense. I think it's near impossible for me to have a conversation with someone of another ethnicity and attempt to ameliorate a problem that we may have if I'm not willing to listen to them and understand them. If I'm only willing to hear my side of the argument and preach my side of the argument, then nothing will ever get done. If I don't attempt to understand the plights that they face due to what people of my ethnicity do or due to what other people do to them, if I don't attempt to understand where they're coming from, why would they want to, why would they venture to understand where I'm coming from? I think it's extremely important that understanding, because without that simple understanding of where someone's coming from, I think you can very quickly, very easily be talking in a debate or in an argument or in just a regular conversation about different things. If you don't establish a connection of this is where I'm coming from and this is where you're coming from and we understand each other, then very important arguments can become very convoluted, and people from different ethnicities can be talking about two very different things in an argument. Like one person can say, a person of my ethnicity could perhaps say, racism is still very prevalent in America and it needs to be something that is dealt with now. And then a person of another ethnicity can say, can't you see where we've come? Like Martin Luther King was a great guy. Like we've obviously come a long way. I don't see what you're talking about. Like I don't see what you're talking about. And someone of my ethnicity can be like, okay, but there's this and this and this and this and this, and then like so a person of my ethnicity is talking about where we are right now, and a person of the other ethnicity is talking about the progress we've seen, and those are two completely different topics. I feel like if we don't get on the same page of understanding one another from an ethnic standpoint, then we can't get anywhere in trying to talk about what we're talking about. Does that make sense?
And that concludes our interview. And it was such a good conversation. I wish I had a camera on the wall just recording us instead of me having to hit start and stop. It was a really good conversation. I want to thank RJ for all of his effort and his wonderful answers to the questions. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation as much as I did. Thanks for watching.